Hi, Tran, Gregory Group Real Estate here in Austin, Texas. Today I'm going to tell you how to get free money. Okay, that's obviously an exaggeration. However, if you have owned a home for, at least like the last year or two or longer, you probably have a lot of equity in your home. The home's probably gone up in value, and there's a lot of money that you can access that without doing something like this, you would not be able to touch it at all. What I'm talking about is called a HELOC. Home Equity Line of Credit. What a HELOC does is lets you access that money that's in your home value, and it's kind of like using a checking account. You can just go to a bank or online and access that money. Of course, people always ask me, why should I even go through the process? Why should I get this Home Equity Line of Credit? Well, think about it. If your house, let's say you have an extra $100,000 of equity in your house. If you don't do anything, then it's just stuck there. It's stuck in your house. So let's say it's a random Monday and some unexpected expense comes up. Say it's $10,000 and you only have a couple $1,000s in your checking account at the time. I mean, it would kind of suck if you have $100,000 in your house but you can't do anything with it, but now you feel like you're broke because you only have that $1,000 in your checking account. So wouldn't it be nice if you could actually access that money that is really yours? So what are a couple ways you can use this line of credit? The first one is my favorite, and it's just to have an emergency fund. Who knows when you might need an extra little bit of money, and this line of credit just sits there. Once it's opened, it sits there. It's open for 5 or 10 years. It doesn't cost you anything to keep it open, and it's just there. So it's just nice to have that security in the back of your head to know that there's an extra chunk of money that you can access if you need it. Another way a lot of people use this is for home renovations. Let's say you want to redo your kitchen or you want to add a pool, something that you don't have the cash for right now, but you can definitely pay back not too much long, and it won't take you too much longer to pay it back. That's something a lot of people like using it for. One thing I like to use it for, but I have to warn you is very risky, is that you can use it for short-term investments. I won't say what these short-term investments are, but if there's something that you think you can put some money, that you think you can borrow some money for, and you'd be able to pay it back and not take too long in doing it, that can be a good use for it. You just have to understand that there's risk there because this is your house that you're borrowing against. So if you can't pay it back, then you're going to have issues. I've alluded to this, but really the best use for these is short-term lending, something you're going to be able to pay back, relatively quickly. You normally aren't going to want to, say, buy a rental home with one of these that you expect to hold for a long time because the interest rate floats and you don't know what the interest rate is going to be down the line. How the interest rate works is it's usually pegged to some kind of benchmark like the Wall Street Journal prime rate. Right now that's 5.5%. That's compared to your typical 30-year mortgage right now, which is probably 6 and 6.25%. So it's it will be just above that prime, so it might be 5.75%, but that will change as interest rates go up or down. But once again, you don't want to have a long-term investment in it just because you don't know what the interest rate is going to be in a couple years. You might be wondering how much you can borrow. Now this all depends on how much equity you have in your house. For most lenders, it's usually between 75 to 80% of the home's value is what can be borrowed against. But understand you also have to, if you already have a mortgage on it, that comes out of it too. So let's take a real simple example. Let's say you bought a house for $500,000 and you put down $100,000. So you put down 20% in it when you purchased it. Now it's been a couple years and now it appraises at $700,000. So it's gone up $200,000. That means your equity has grown from about $100,000 to $300,000. And then if you take it at the 80%, and you take out what it is that you already owe against a property, you could get a line of credit for around $160,000. That's a big chunk of money that you didn't have access to before. Know that right now is a really good time to apply for a home equity line of credit. I've got 2 reasons for that. The first one is it takes a while for these things to go through. It can take up to 2 months. It definitely takes longer than when you're actually just buying a house. And the reason is these kind of loans get pushed behind all the people who are on these tight time frames to close in a house. So once again, it can take almost 2 months. And so it's not something where tomorrow you need the money and you say, okay, let me apply for a HELOC and you have it. You definitely have to have this taken care of beforehand. The other reason it's really good right now is because the appraisals are coming back really good right now. We have a lot of good comps out there, and so when they appraise it, they can give you a really high appraised value for your house. And the higher the appraised value is, the more equity and the more you can borrow against. Now you may be thinking that you need to go to the bank that you have your mortgage through or that you do your banking through. That's not true. You can get it through any bank out there. And the thing is, a lot of banks don't actually do those. For example, on my house, the people that mortgage it, they don't do the HELOCs, and the people that I bank through, they don't do HELOCs either. So I had to go to a different bank. But there's a couple options, and if this is something you're interested in, just reach out. I can talk to you more about it, and I can point you in the right direction to get one of these. And also, I can't remember if I talked about it earlier, but most of the time, this is completely free. Like, you don't have to pay anything for it. You just have to go through the application process. So it's really a win-win. There's no losing here. Let me know if I can help you with any of this or answer any of the real estate questions. Just reach out.